Excuse me. Hello and welcome back, Elite Aspect F125. We are getting ready to go into qualifying, sprint qualifying here for Elite Aspect F125. So we are loading in. So we had one little session earlier. So 12 minutes for Q1. I thought it was supposed to be 12 minutes. 15 minutes. Thought it was, no, it's 12, 10, 8, I guess. So they may have to use the medium tires as we get ready to begin sprint qualifying here for round 2 of Elite Aspect F125 here at the Shanghai circuit in China. Again, had a little session earlier. And here are the results of the pre-practice 1 that we had just a little bit earlier. 1:32.3 is an outstanding time. 1:32.6 is what I was expecting from drivers, but we also had a little bit of rain at the end of the session, and I think some of these drivers didn't get to put their best out there. And as we look at our top 3 from the pre-practice session earlier, so Harrison Holmes, Marcos Olmedo, and Edvin were our top 3. Go ahead and look at the team calendars. So pretty much same as F1. Trying to follow the standard procedure here, as we'll round out pretty much the whole Asia Pacific, and then we'll return to the Middle East, and then the weird section in between rounds 6 through 9 where we're kind of all over the place, and then we'll start the European tour, and then of course end with the Americas, and then back to the Middle East. So these are pretty much your driver lineups. A lot of these names you will see out there on track right now. There are going to be a few substitutions as the reserve drivers do take part in these seasons with us here in Elite Aspect F125. So good to see those guys out there. And then obviously we had a session just last week where it was Australia, where these are the results from the Australian Grand Prix. It would be Alberto and the V-Carb, who took top spot on the podium, followed by Marcos Olmedo and Frigate 3360. As you can see, Young Lights had our fastest lap award there with a minute 18 flat. Again, that would be Alberto as our race winner. There are the top 3. And of course, it will be Alberto after one round in first place, where the constructors, obviously V-Carb, set a standard there in the constructors. It's not a very good representation of the map. Very hard to see. And it looks like drivers are just starting to settle in here. Yeah, everybody should be on the medium. Some people on intermediates for some reason. And we'll start taking a look. Out laps, people on laps. As we're on board with the V-Carb of Marcos Olmedo. Has set the fastest second sector, sorry, but on the medium tires, first laps. Everybody's gonna get at least 2 runs, I do believe, but you have to use the medium tires. So you may use the same set, you have to keep them. So with a 1:32.625 on the medium compound tire. Drivers coming over the line. Edvin Naslund does a 133. MDJ's on the board with a 134.7. Folkmasters in the Haas with a 134.9. I believe Young Lights just set a 133.750. As these drives, it's going to be sporadic. There's a lot of drivers out there on track. There is a limited time, so everybody's trying to make the most of every single opportunity they have. As one of the favorites, of course, ONB Alberto. Did a great performance last week in Australia. Getting a slipstream from his teammate, it looks like. Because in front is his teammate, Marcos Olmedo, who has already set a lap and is still fastest. A big slipstream there. Teammates working together. How about that? Right on the limit there. 132.907 puts the V-Carbs 1 and 2 at the moment. The two McLarens look like they're working together as well. Aaron is backed out. I get a time on the board. 35.2 puts him ninth. Steve Edward, who had a good performance in Australia as well. Comes across fourth fastest for 133.250. Vader in the Red Bull crossed the line with a 138. So obviously that's who's at risk. As we will drop down 16 through 20. Mark is still out there on the intermediates for some reason. Extra on a much better lap in the Williams. Much better lap. Maybe could have got a little bit of a tow there from the McLaren. That's pretty well there with a 133.620, putting him sixth. RT Luca here in the Red Bull, just getting started. Rosen starting an out lap now as well, or starting a lap. So is Bovril, who is, I believe, just behind FRT Luca here. Coming out of turn 13. Moves up to 7th with a 133.655. Young Lake's starting an out lap. Drivers at risk: Abdullah, Vader, Mark, Bovril, and Frozen. Frozen might be on a decent lap here. Doing a total to one of the McLarens behind. I don't know if it's Naslund or Aaron. No, that's not a... 37.9. Still on the drop. And we'll take a look at Set Bovril here. Through 9 and 10. Round 13, can you keep the rear end settled? On an outlap it says though, I thought. Not sure. Make our way back down the grid. I haven't really mentioned Bluz at all. Not on a lap. Harrison should be on a good lap here. Two Aston Martins in front. He's on board with Harrison Holmes here. On a good lap. That'll put him provisional pole with a 132.383. Marco's backed out there. Bovril did a 133.122, but it said it was on an outlap, so I'm confused now. Everybody should still be on medium tires if they're using old ones. So really it's going to be Mark F1 and TF Abdullah here, who are close to the drop. MDJ at risk. Bluz is already out. So is Frozen and so is Vader. I don't know if Mark's and the Mercedes in front just had an incident. Yes, because they've just finished. A 132.448 from the Williams. Fantastic finish, putting him second, which drops MDJ out of the top 15 and will not progress. So MDJ, Bluz, Frozen, Vader, and Mark all out in Q1 here for sprint qualifying for China in round 2. Wait a minute, something just happened. There must have been some sort of penalties handed out. MDJ is now moved up to, or was on a lap and I'd missed it, up to 14 to get into Q2. So everybody on the medium tires. There are the 5 that were eliminated. Aaron, Gibbo, Bluz, Frozen, Vader, and Mark were all eliminated. I don't think Mark even put in a lap, really. We'll look at our top 10 at least. Harrison, Abdullah, Marcos, Alberto, Bovril, Edvin, Joe Animator. In the Ferrari, sleeper. I didn't see much of them in FP1, but no have pace. So we'll see how that goes forward here. As we're getting ready to start sprint qualifying session 2, 15 drivers, drop it to 10 minutes. As while we're here, we'll go ahead and take a look. There are your driver lineups for this season of Elite Aspect F1 25. Some of those drivers you will definitely see out there right now. There is the calendar. We're in round 2 here in China, so it's sprint weekend, so that's why we're doing sprint qualifying here. We only had one practice session earlier. So those are the top 3 for practice session 1. And there's the total results. As we look to results in Australia, it will be Alberto finishing first. The 1-2 finish for V-Carb with also Marcos Olmedo, followed by Frigate and Legion. Ferrari, good showing there as well. Which puts Alberto and Marcos at the top with 25 and 18 points respectively after one round. And then V-Carb taking the lead in the constructors with a 1-2 finish in Australia after round 1. So we'll be looking at those guys as far as making their names and setting laps around here today. I believe it is the Aston Martin of Florissant who leads the pack. And will be the first one to put in a lap. So we'll take a look at the circuit here in Shanghai. Turns 1 and 2 are interesting braking zones, and a lot of engine braking as well. Some different lines can be taken through there. Struggling with the traction on the medium tires. Turns 7, 8, and 9 and 10. Difficult section. Always difficult being the first one to put in a lap because the amount of rubber that's been laid down. As the track tends to improve. So in this session, yeah, it's going to be a hustle for everybody to get back and put in a lap and then get back and put in another one. And so we'll be Florissant to set the lap 133.370. As we see Haas of Folkmasters, the Williams of Abdullah all across the line here. Bovril across the line. DJ and the Aston Martin pushing on. I think he's got Harrison in front. Young Lights with a 133.282, Extra with a 134.317. Gonna be a little wide, but let off a little bit, so should be okay with a 133.809 for MDJ there. Harrison needs to set a better time. ABE. Again, very quick session here. Needs to set a time. That's his first sector. Strong showing in Australia. Able to keep the foot in through 7, 8, now 9 and 10. May get lucky and get a little slipstream. Absolutely. So helped on by a Red Bull, but invalidated. Would have been a 133.28. Would have tied Young Lights up there. We're gonna have to try again. Harrison comes into the pits, still on intermediates for some reason. Maybe they were the only one at risk out there. The Mask. Might be trying to, needs to better. MDJ at risk as well, so is Folkmasters. I think from Luca up, they're probably safe. So Folkmasters, MDJ, Mask, of course, need to get another lap in, and we'll see. Maybe Edward might be starting a new lap here in just a minute, so we'll keep an eye on that one, as Folkmasters is out there as well. Has an invalidation. So does Edward. Mask is up about 2/10. So good looking lap so far. Finish up. Yeah, we look through sector 2, still 1/10 up. Good exit here out of 13. Not much of a slipstream ahead for the Mass 356 here. In sprint qualifying for Elite Aspect F125. We'll have a sprint race tomorrow, followed by the Grand Prix qualifying for round 2 here in Elite Aspect F125. Nice turn through 16, keeps it on track. 133.766, so that does put MDJ down, who is not going to be able to improve. X-Joe coming out of the pits. Harrison and Brovo both on. Maybe Edwards in the pits as well. ONB Alberto still has not put in a time, so we're right on board. He's coming around, finishing up second sector here, the middle sector. Might be fastest. Confidence only really putting in one lap. As Salver gets out of the way. On an out lap. We need to keep an eye on both of those Salvers. One starting a lap now. Which would be Seth Broville. Would be Alberto makes his way in the final sector. Final couple turns here. Keep it on track. Looks like a pretty good lap. .132.807 puts him fourth, so that's completely out of harm's way. Overall, MDJ on a lap. No, has one. He's gonna have to put one in here. Overall is the first Sauber out there. Be Audi next year. Looking forward to seeing how that changes things up. Of course, we also have Cadillac building for the 11th team, 22 cars, and a big change in how the cars actually are designed. So more battery as far as the engine is concerned, flexible wings, adjustable wings, and then also they're making the cars just a little bit smaller, making the tires a little bit smaller. So hopefully we can see some increased racing. Will they be faster? Maybe, because they're smaller and lighter, but they're also going to hinder them on the aerodynamics, so you won't be able to produce as much downforce. However, so we'll see how that goes. As far as safety technology is concerned, as long as that keeps increasing, that set Brovo across the line, puts him ninth, out of harm's way. Check back with Harrison here, who needs to put in a much better time. X-Joe in the Williams, I think, was invalidated. There's a couple other drivers still out there trying to put in time. MDJ has been eliminated. The Mask probably, maybe can put in a better time. We'll see as we cross the line with Harrison, who goes fastest with a 1:32.308. X-Joe in the pits. The Mask is improving just a little bit, but it's going to need a little bit more than that, I believe. Crosses the line in 11th, so unable to capitalize. Rorson's still pushing on, maybe trying to improve, just missed practice, so wants to, maybe has the tires already. Says let's use another set and set another time. Maybe an improvement here. Yes, it is, with a 1:33 flat. Top 6. As it will be the Mask in the Ferrari, Folkmasters in the Haas, MDJ in the Aston Martin, X-Joe in the Williams, and ABE in the Haas. ABE Edward being eliminated here in Q2 for sprint qualifying. Elite Aspect F125 round 2 in China. As you see the top 10 moving on there into Q3 here for sprint qualifying around second round China for Elite Aspect F125. Eliminated the Mask, Folkmasters, MDJ, X-Joe, and ABE Edward were all eliminated there in SQ2 for sprint qualifying. As we're moving on to number 3 here, as if you may want to look at the results from FP1, as you see Holmes, Almeida, Edvin, Alberto, Sep Bovril, Young Lights, all in here. X-Joe, I believe, is still available, running in quali, so a lot of those drivers there. It'll be interesting to see how those times relate to this quick 8-minute session. So drivers should be trying to get out there very, very quickly. As we can take a look at the driver standings again, Alberto and Marcos Almeida finishing 1-2 on 25 and 18 respectively, with Legion in the Ferrari sitting third. Legion is a reserve driver, but got those 15 points. And then Animator in the Ferrari on 12, with Frigate bringing up 10 points because there was an issue with the top 3 as far as penalties handing out after the race. So unfortunate to have that, but at the same time we're here for SQ3 as drivers should be getting out there. Bovril looks like not to be the first one on track. We should have a Ferrari out there, and that will be Joe Animator. Yeah, his teams are lining up to put in first run soft tires SQ3. It's just starting to make our way out there. Outlaps, outlaps. You can get 2 sessions in, but you gotta make it count. And it looks like IRT Luca is on a set of intermediates. So is Bovril. I guess they're just doing reconnaissance laps on a full set of wets. Coruscant on softs. Animator on soft, who's going to be the first one to put in a lap. He turns 1 and 2. 3 and 4 sets up for a great overtaking zone, especially with the DRS at the end of the lap, going into turns 1 and 2, and then having change of outside to inside line. Makes his way down to turn 6, a little late in the apex there. Seven and 8 on full throttle, and then a few downshifts, down again for turn 9. Maybe an upshift through turn 10. Pick the braking spot. And then you feel like that rear end is settled. Time to go. Take that battery, open the DRS. Finish up through turn 14. And this is actually turn 16. Don't go too wide, don't cut too much corner. Good looking lap. For 132.473. I believe it will be Bovril to cross the line next, but on intermediate tires, so I don't expect. Let's continue on. Florissant on a lap on the softs. Making their way around the final turns here. Will be the next cross line put in lap, but no, backs out. I'm not sure how Naslin is set a fastest second sector on mediums. I mean on full wets. And continuing on. No, okay. So interesting tire strategies happening here. The drivers need to put in laps, that's for sure. So I think Animator's going to give it one more go on these. Might have enough time to get in and back out. Bovril needs to get in and back out. Does Florissant have time to improve and actually get a lap in? Is going to now we get PRT Marcos Olmedo, TF10, Harrison Holmes, both on outlaps. Florissant has another invalidated lap. You can come in or try on this sometime. This is going to have to do it with Florissant here in the S mark. Traffic ahead. Not in a good spot. McLarens get out of the way. There's a Red Bull. Animator on pole is retired. Not going to do another lap. It's going to come down to everybody doing it at one time. You should see all those outlaps out there. We're all on board with Florissant right now. Dude, this is their one and only chance to put a lap in. Finishing up the middle sector. 152.451. Trying to get the rear end stable. Always a tricky section there. Pushing ever so hard. Going to be the first one to really set their final lap. Is Almeida and Harrison are the first ones to start a lap. Checking on them in just a moment with Alberto behind them. Florissant puts it second with a 133.166. So Roby Harrison across the line first, I believe. And I can already tell you where they are and how much this lap already. This is a good lap. Not quite perfect into 14 there. Don't cut too much corner, don't go too wide. That's going to do it though with a 131.828. Yeah. Marcos Almeida will cross the line with a 131.863. Looks like it's OMB Alberto will be the next to cross the line. 131.8. Good lap here. 131.855. Takes over the teammate. That was... Sorry. Young Lights crosses the line in 6th. Edvin comes in 4th. Lucas 7th. With Florissant showing off in the Aston Martin. Well, that's going to do it for SQ3 here in sprint qualifying. Here in Elite Aspect F125. So fantastic session. Usual suspects at the top. So we'll see how the race turns out tomorrow. Again, this is just sprint qualifying, as we'll have another sprint race tomorrow. Then we will do real qualifying after that. But the gap, the top 4, all separated by less than half a hundredth of a second. Less than 0.05 seconds. So absolutely phenomenal. And that team dynamic with the Vija Cash App Racing Bulls, or VCARB, so Racing Bulls. That is absolutely amazing. So that's going to do it here for sprint qualifying in Elite Aspect F125. Stay tuned tomorrow as we will bring the race for you at 2 o'clock British Standard Time, and then following that 1 hour later, we will do Grand Prix qualifying for round 2 here in China, Elite Aspect F125. I'm Fabregas115 coming to you live, and that's going to do it for this one sprint qualifying session. And we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, and very, very pleased for everything that we have seen so far. Big shout out to Young Lights, who has put this all together and gotten us all together. And that was a fantastic qualifying session that we have for the sprint race coming up tomorrow here in China, round 2 of Elite Aspect